Hello and welcome to the Closer's Playbook, a podcast about selling your services as a freelancer. I'm Tyler Poole here with my co-host Pete Beber.
How's it going, Tyler?
Good. How are you today?
Doing great.
Good.
We're recording on a Friday afternoon, and my new boss just instituted summer hours. So normally I would be in the office, air quotes, but I get to hang out with you and talk about.
I like it.
Selling your services as a freelancer.
Early start to the weekend.
That's right.
So speaking of selling your services, we want to talk today about the sales funnel, how we think about it, the challenges that we like to overcome by using it, how we filter our sales process and break it up into different pieces, and know that at the top of the funnel there's going to be a bunch, and if we are patient, if we follow the steps correctly, you get to the bottom of the funnel, which is where your sales are.
So tell us what's at the top of the funnel.
So the top of the funnel is I actually think of this as outside the funnel. I think of this as the step where I throw things into my imaginary funnel. And that's any piece of outreach, any piece of, if I send a cold email looking for backlink clients, if I if I submit a proposal to a job on Upwork, anything that possibly will lead me to talking to a business about my services.
So you're saying there's a chance. There's an opportunity.
One in a million.
Whether they think there's an opportunity or not, you're going, hey, I've made some outreach. I've responded to something. They've reached out to me. So there's some level of opportunity here that I'm going to pursue.
Yep. It's depending on what type of sales you do, you could have 100 people that you toss into your filter and one makes it to the next step. Depending on how refined your sales are. If you have something where people come to you, that's also, like, say you have an advertisement online, maybe a Google ad or whatever it is, people come to you, that's another entry into that funnel.
Yeah. So that's what makes the funnel important, right? A lot of folks aren't using this. This is common in like any sale. Mm-hmm. So if you're in e-commerce, you probably talked about funnels before, you know what they are. But the whole benefit of this is knowing, we talked in the last episode about somebody who has done over $500,000 on Upwork over 3 years, and her close rate was 27%. Now it's moved to even 50%. How does she know? Right? She's moving people through a funnel, whether she has that completely defined or not. There's a funnel there. There's a start. She started with 819 jobs that she bid on, and she ended with 223. So there's the bottom of her funnel. Yep. And if you don't know what your funnel looks like, now's the time.
Yeah. And so for her, that 823 is the top of her funnel. That's the entryway. That's the very start of it, the very top of it.
Yeah. And so if you picture a funnel, it gets slimmer as you get towards the bottom, because there's you're qualifying, well, you or the prospect is qualifying somebody out. Yep. So you're saying, hey, we're not going to work together. So they're out of the funnel.
And that's actually our second step.
Yeah. So, and it's really important. We've talked about it in past episodes. Some of our early episodes, we talked about qualifying in and out as being extremely important, because if you're chasing an opportunity and you're not the right fit, or they're not the right fit for you, the project's not the right fit, it's an opportunity cost. You're missing out on the opportunity to work with somebody who is, with a project that is. And that, as hard as that is, especially early on, or if things have slowed down, sometimes you have to take those opportunities. But oftentimes I hear people say, like, I should have known that I shouldn't have worked with that person. Yeah. Or done that job. Yep. So qualifying out is key.
And something I want to illustrate here is that depending on how focused your input is to the very top of the funnel, your discovery and your qualification in or out will be, if your inputs are better, if you have less inputs but they're more high quality, then your qualification out, the people who don't make it past this stage, is going to be less. But if you were just throwing any old thing into the top of your funnel, then this qualification discovery steps, it needs to be more rigid, and you need to have less people passing through it.
You're going to refine that over time. I'm going to say you should be refining that over time. Think back of the clients who you did work for that were great. Can you get repeat business with them? That's going to shrink your funnel. Can you get referrals? That's going to, reduce the number of inputs that you need into that funnel to get a final sale. So over time, you want to track what's going in versus what's going out, and then you want those numbers to get closer and closer.
Yep.
Ideally, it's not a funnel; it's a straw.
Right.
But
or a hose,
a
fire hose.
What goes in, you always close. But I've yet to meet somebody who's been that amazing.
Fire hose of clients.
Yeah, and so qualifying them out is important, so you can get down to a number of clients that makes sense for you to do a proposal to.
Right, a number of prospects that because they're not clients at that point yet.
Right.
They're still you're still figuring out if they're going to work.
Right, and this is we're talking pretty simple funnel, because there's really just one more step in our funnel. We're trying to make it easy and a light lift for you. Okay. So you're putting every opportunity in at the top. And then you're going down to the qualification. So how do you qualify? Well, you're having, for one, if they won't get on the phone with you to talk about what their need is,
they're out.
Maybe they're out. Your industry might not make sense, right? There's outliers. But
sure.
Like in general, if they're not willing to take 15 or 30 minutes to talk to you about it, they're probably just using you for a price to keep their current contractor or freelancer honest. You want to have that conversation. So then you have that conversation and you're doing discovery. You're asking them about what problem are we solving for? What do you need this for? Why is this important? What makes this a priority now? Right. We've talked about discovery a few times. Yeah. We'll keep talking about it, I'm sure.
100%. Yeah. These two, this step here is where you're going to spend most of your time for, or I guess these two steps. Putting stuff in the funnel and then qualifying it, discovering. Yeah. That's where the bulk of it comes.
I think putting stuff in is that one is like I have difficulty getting meetings. Like first meetings, never talked to before. I know people who are great at it. And fortunately, I get to work with some of those people. Yeah. But it's the next stage of qualifying and discovery that I'm much better at.
And I'm probably the opposite. But I guarantee that if you look at what I put into my bucket, it's much more of a broad. Yeah. I'll send 100 cold emails I do it 3 or 4 times a week. It's just my filter is not. I would like to have a bunch of just whatever going into my bucket, and I can filter it once it's in there.
Sales is a numbers game. You need to have enough leads.
But I bet if you look at yours is much smaller, but you filter out a lot less during this qualification part. Yeah. So like there's no. I think it depends. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I think it depends very much so on your industry and so experiment with those ratios and see if you find something that
ultimately what we want is to know, all right, how many that we put into the bucket make it to the next stage of qualifying, right? And then when you see that, you can start to go, all right, what are the similarities of the ones that I qualify in, and what are the similarities of the ones that I qualify out? And now you can change what goes in the first place. So you can refine that, you can tweak it, and then that's going to get you, a different type of funnel. Yep. Then, once you've done the discovery and you've determined that you both are a good fit, right? The services you provide and what they need is a match. Now you've got a proposal.
Right. And so, that's the next step.
Yeah, so then you need to get your proposal in. We've talked before, probably linked to episodes where we've talked about some of this stuff, but I like to not send my proposal over. I like to, hey, let's jump on a Zoom, a WebEx, a whatever, and let's review this proposal together. Because if I just send it out, it almost goes into this black hole. And if they're not willing to take the time to review the proposal, that's another qualifier. But if I just send it over, now they're going to have some assumptions about what's in there that I may not have thought about. So I like to go through that proposal and say, hey, here's the problem that I heard that we're solving for. Here is how I plan to solve for it. Here is my cost and timeline to do that. What is wrong about this? Did I miss anything? Do I have too much in here? Let's make sure we're completely aligned. Am I within your budget? All those things. Right. And then if it's all, yeah, this looks great, cool. What's the next step? When do you want to get started? Is there anybody else who needs to review this?
Right.
I like to go through that proposal with them so that if they do have concerns or questions, I can address it right there, and then I can update the proposal before I send it over.
Yeah. And that eliminates a lot of your back and forth. Oh, we need this change, blah, blah, blah. And it just cleans up the communication a little bit.
Great way to put it.
So,
yeah. And then I think we left something off on this little crib sheet that we have here, but follow-up. So, a lot of people stop following up after they've sent the proposal. They worry about, I'm just going to be a pesky salesperson. Stuff comes up all the time.
Right.
And
especially right now.
Right. And so it's just pleasant. Like, I've heard several customers, not just with me, but with others, is I appreciated your pleasant persistence, right? You weren't a jerk about it, but you were keeping me honest and you reached out. Some good things to ask here is like, hey, first of all, when you get off that proposal call, I like to just schedule another call or, right. Hey, when do you plan to have a decision by? And then if they say Thursday of next week, great. If I haven't heard from you by end of day Thursday, would you be against me just giving you a nudge on Friday? Usually it's, no, that's fine. If they don't respond, hey, a couple days later, right? I give people the benefit of the doubt. Stuff comes up. A couple days later, hey, did you miss my email? That's it. That's it. And then if I don't get a response from that, which I usually do, I'll let a number of days go by and then it might just be, maybe I make a phone call in the meantime. I'm going to follow up a few times and go, hey, did anything change? Right. Or, hey, finally, like 4 or 5, emails deep, maybe I'm going, hey, I haven't heard from you. It seems like maybe either I didn't get this project or it's been put on hold. So, I'm just gonna, if I don't hear back from you, I'm just going to consider this, closed.
Yep.
A breakup email.
And well, yeah. And maybe it's, so with follow-up, I had this very exact same thing that Pete just outlined happen to me about towards the beginning of this year. I had worked with this company before. We were talking about a second project. Everything had gone really well on the second one. I sent over a proposal, didn't hear anything. Talked to my contact on the phone a few days later. Okay, we're still waiting, blah, blah, blah. And I think I had 5 follow-up contacts over the course of maybe a month. And then finally she goes, okay, we're going to have to put this on the back burner. Will you contact me in a couple months? And so I did send her an email probably late March. We're still not doing anything, yada, yada. I sent her an email, I think it was Monday. And it looks like the project might go forward as it was proposed way back then. So, I mean, that's an extreme case of follow-up, but just because a project falls out, touch base with people. I have a buddy who has a spreadsheet of all the people he's talked to for the last 2 years, and just every 3 months or so he sends emails, and it's amazing the business that he gets off of it.
It's great because you can fill the funnel with the same people you've had, especially if you've had conversations about proposals and, you know, maybe it was deprioritized, maybe you didn't win that one, but you put them back in the top of your funnel and go, hey, you know, we talked in the past. I was curious, what do you have going on now?
Yeah. And I mean, if it's, I would even say that it's like inserting them under the qualification part because you don't have to, you know, they're a good fit or they were in the past.
Now you're going to want to still do that discovery because the project could change, the parameters could change, the value of what they're looking to solve could change, could go up.
But it's going to be a much quicker.
Should be quicker. You're already starting at a place where you have a relationship. So, yeah. And then from there, it's sales.
You should have the sale.
Close it.
If everything else has gone well,
when do we start?
Yeah, if they've fallen down through your funnel and made every step on the way down. So something we were talking about before we turned on the mic, percentages. How do you know what percentages that you should hit for each of these steps?
Yeah, because like in the last episode when we talked about that woman who had a 27% close rate, and in 2021 we're halfway through the year. Maybe the article's a couple months old. I have no idea. I just saw it, but you know, we're a good ways into the year, and she's looking at 50% close rate. So I think, you know, there's so many different industries. So you might be a copywriter, you might be a writer, an SEO expert, a graphic designer,
photographer,
a million different things, right? I couldn't possibly know what the averages are for each industry, but where I can suggest you start is first get a baseline of what your close rate is. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters a little bit, I guess. You know, if you're expecting a 75% close rate and the industry average is 20%, that's good to know. But I'll tell you what, I don't know anybody getting a 75% close rate. Right. If they are, it's all word of mouth sort of business, which would be great.
Right.
But I think start with where you're at and then just tweak some things. Go, all right, well, right now I have a 10% close rate. Can I get it to 12? Mm-hmm. Can I get it to 15? What would I need to do differently? Right. But until you know what that looks like, getting people into your funnel and starting to say like, yeah, I didn't like these people never called me back. What was the same about them that was different from all these people that I did work with? Like, let's get those people out of the funnel to begin with. Hey, maybe I don't work with that type of industry very well.
Yeah.
Maybe that title at that company is the problem.
Yeah. And this can be as simple as a 4 or 5 column spreadsheet where column A is wherever you found them, or like maybe it's cold email or Upwork or whatever that input to the funnel is. Then column 2 is your outreach or your communication. Column 3 is your qualification. Column 4 is your proposal. Maybe 5 is follow-up if you want to do that one. And then sales. 6 is your sales. 6 is that total number. Closed, yeah.
The money column.
Mm-hmm. Right. The one that we care about.
Yeah. And just do that consistently, right? Like at the end of every day. What did I do? Where's everything at in my funnel? Mm-hmm. A lot of companies, managers have one-on-ones with their salespeople, and they want to walk through the funnel. You know, what do we have? What's coming in? What's in this stage, right? I think keep it simple out of the gate. Here's what I consider an opportunity and how many I have this week, this month, this year. Here's how many have moved on to where we actually have a qualification and discovery conversation. Here's the ones that I've done an actual proposals for. And here's what turned into sales.
I find it really helpful to keep myself honest because if let's say I don't do any outreach for a week, all of a sudden the numbers in my qualification, my proposal, and my sales columns are going to get smaller, and I'm going to see that, and then I'm going to be like, oh, that's because you didn't fill your funnel this week.
Yeah.
Duh. And so it's a good way to keep yourself honest.
Right. And you'll find too that sales ebbs and flows. I think you mentioned before, I don't know if it was might have been on the last podcast, but or just to each other is like, it seems to come in waves, right? Like all of a sudden I'll get a whole bunch of opportunities. Well, once you start closing deals and you've got work to do now, that's going to go up. And oftentimes what suffers is filling the top of that funnel.
Yep.
But when you're looking at that on a regular basis, now you might have a lot of work, so you can't put as many into the top of the funnel. But we want you to always be putting stuff into the funnel. Something's got to go in because you want to go long term.
Right. And unfortunately, your clients aren't going to be there forever. So you need to if you have stuff coming into the funnel, even while you're working on those projects, their replacements are in the work.
Right.
If you don't have anything coming into your funnel, then you get done with a project and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap.
And I tell you what, a great place to be is to have, it can be difficult for a time, but a great place to be is more work coming in than you can handle, because now you can start to increase your rates. And you can start to be choosy about who you work with.
And that's a phenomenal place to be.
It's where we're hoping to be helping you get through this podcast. So Tyler, I think that's probably a good place to wrap.
Yeah.
So just go back and try to get a baseline of what your starting number is to your close.
Yep.
Get yourself a close rate. Go through that funnel. Keep track of it, and just always try to be improving it a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a percentage at a time.
Yeah. And if you liked this episode, we'd love it if you listen to more and shared it with others. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts.
Podcast, YouTube, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So thanks for listening.
Talk to you guys next week.